Ever had that moment when you walk out of Marshall's feeling like you outsmarted the system? Bags of amazing deals, your heart racing with triumph? What if I told you most of that triumph is exactly what Marshall's wants you to feel? Because it's all part of a meticulously constructed maze. You're not just shopping, you're in their strategy arena, and unless you know the blueprint, you're playing exactly by their rules. Picture this. You spot a pair of sweatpants on a rack, tagged $19. You think, nice find, and grab them. But if you wander a few aisles over to the clearance section, there they are again. Same fabric, same size, this time tagged 40% off. Not a mistake, a psychological move. Marshall's bets you're not going to circle back to check. The thrill of strike while it's hot keeps you moving, makes you impulsive. But if you train yourself to pause, to double-check the main rack, the clearance zone, you might find a textbook markdown. A savvy viewer shared once, sweater seen at $24.99, then the exact same one found for $14 with a yellow tag. No flaws, just location math. That's the kind of subtle, powerful awareness that starts reshaping your shopping instinct. Now, tags. Not just price labels. They're secret maps you've been ignoring. A tiny smudge of text, like designer, means it's the real deal, not a knockoff. Irregular means a slight flaw, maybe a crooked seam. That irregular label? Inspector mode activated. Inside out that garment, you might find it's practically perfect. Save up to 50% if you're okay with cosmetic quirks, so long as the zipper works. And then there's that string of numbers, say 01999. That's not some made-up compare at. That's the actual manufacturer's suggested price before Marshall's did their thing. Knowing that, you see what real savings look like, not the inflated 50% off they slap on random stuff. And the little box with 1 or 2 digits? That indicates how long the item's been on the floor. Higher number means it's older and likely headed for deeper markdown soon. That's your signal to bide your time. Let others skim. You wait, you win. But here's the real hook. This is not just theory. These patterns repeat store after store, so you have the power to shop on your terms, not theirs. And Marshall's doesn't want that. They've built this maze to reward the unaware. But you? You're rewiring your instincts. Suddenly you're not just grabbing, you're decoding. And once you figure that out, you're not just another shopper. You're someone who sees behind the curtain. I'm just getting started. Later on, I'll walk you through the exact sweet hours to show up, why 2 flags, red versus yellow tags, tell 2 entirely different stories, and even how small talk with staff becomes your insider tip line. Stick around. This is where smart meets strategy. And that first step toward real control happens right now. If you haven't yet, go ahead and subscribe to Undercover Spoon. You won't want to miss the rest of this. And yes, keep watching. Near the end, I'll share unusual item categories that practically scream, "Steal me," but only if you know the code. Now that you've started seeing Marshall's through a sharper lens, let's talk timing. When you shop matters almost as much as how you shop. Most people think getting there right when the doors open guarantees the best finds. Wrong. Opening hours are often filled with yesterday's leftovers. If you're walking in at 9:30 a.m. on a Monday, you're not early. You're just early to disappointment. Here's the inside track. The golden hour is between 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. That's when employees start stocking fresh inventory. New finds roll right from the cart to the shelf, and if you're standing nearby, you get first dibs. Wednesdays through Fridays? That's your golden window. Monday is cleanup day. Tuesday is setup day. But mid to late week? That's when markdowns get slapped on, fresh pieces are unboxed, and the floor starts looking like a treasure map again. And speaking of markdowns, let's crack open the mystery of the red tag versus yellow tag. You've seen them, those bright stickers that scream clearance. But here's what most shoppers miss. Red is just the start. It means the item started the markdown process, not that it's reached bottom. Marshall's has a whole markdown schedule behind the scenes. So if you're looking at a red tag and it's not an in-demand item, wait. A few more days could score you an extra 30% off. But yellow tags, now those are your finish line. That item is done. Final price. Once it's yellow, it won't go lower. In fact, if it doesn't sell, it's either donated or removed entirely. That's why yellow tag season, usually January and July, is a shopper's Super Bowl, store-wide clearance. Entire product categories slashed. But timing is everything. A yellow tag might last an hour, a day, or be gone before it ever hits the rack. One common trick employees use? Sticker stacking. They layer multiple clearance tags on top of each other. Sometimes you'll peel a corner and see the item's markdown history like rings on a tree. If you're gutsy and careful, you can spot trends and know when it's worth waiting or when it's about to vanish. But here's something Marshalls really doesn't want you talking about. Not all stores play by the same rules. Ever walk into one Marshalls and it feels like a thrift store explosion? Then visit another and it's stocked with Calvin Klein, Ralph Lauren, even the occasional pair of Golden Goose sneakers? That's no accident. Marshalls uses a zip code profiling system. Wealthier neighborhoods get higher-end inventory. Stores in high-income areas are treated as premium locations. They get newer stock, trendier items, and more frequent designer drops. Lower-income areas often get the leftovers, older collections, rejected items, or overflow from other stores. It's not personal. It's algorithmic. Here's what the seasoned shoppers do. They pick 3 stores to rotate through. One in a wealthier zip, one local and convenient, and one that's off the beaten path. Each has its rhythm. Some get early drops but are picked over fast. Others get late shipments but have loyal staff who quietly set aside great pieces. Once you crack the patterns, maybe every Thursday at 1 p.m., one store rolls out an entire cart of new handbags. You're not just browsing anymore. You're operating with intent. And don't assume exclusivity is a myth. Certain brands, like Vince Camuto, Adidas, or Michael Kors, sometimes only ship to select Marshalls stores. These pilot drops are part of limited-time testing. So if you're only shopping the one store near your house, you're potentially missing out on the best of what Marshalls could offer. And here's a twist most people never expect. If you shop a premium area store but find a slight flaw on a big-ticket item, you're more likely to get a discount and better customer service. Why? Because those stores are held to a higher standard. They're expected to move product quickly and maintain a premium feel. A scratched mirror or nicked end table? Suddenly that's worth 20 to 30% off if you just ask nicely. Stick around, because coming up, I'll show you how to negotiate markdowns the right way. Yes, you can bargain at Marshalls. And which product categories are consistently worth your money versus the ones that are pure markup traps. Also, don't miss the secret code word printed on clothing tags that can shortcut your hunt for trendy pieces by hours. And if you're loving this intel so far, make sure you subscribe to Undercover Spoon. We're just warming up, and your next trip to Marshalls is about to feel like a guided mission instead of a guessing game. Here's the secret that Marshalls quietly hopes you never discover. You can negotiate. Yes, even in a national chain with corporate policies, there's wiggle room if you know how to approach it. Don't think haggling like you're at a flea market. Think more like a polite, observant detective. Let's say you're eyeing a $59 chair with a slight scuff on the leg. Don't just move on. Don't just sigh and walk away. That's your opening. But here's the golden phrase. This item has a small flaw. Would the store consider adjusting the price? It's non-confrontational, easygoing, and lets the employee feel like they're helping you. Never ask, "Can I get a discount?" Too aggressive. Make it a question of store policy. Employees have flexibility, especially when the item isn't marked as is. If the flaw is visible but doesn't affect function, many will gladly knock off 10% to 30%. It helps move the item and clears floor space. Pro tip, aim for larger or slightly damaged furniture, decor, or boxed kitchen appliances. These take up space and are slower to sell if imperfect. A barely scratched cutting board? That's your leverage. A slightly dented trash can. Bingo. A shopper once shared how she scored a $129 side table for $70 by simply pointing to a corner dent and asking with a smile. Not a glitch, just strategy. Now let's zoom in on something even subtler, the clothing label code. Most people see a price and a brand, end of story. But embedded in Marshall's system is a word that gives away everything. That word? Contemp. Short for contemporary. And it's gold for anyone chasing fashion that's fresh, on trend, and targeted at 20 to 40-something shoppers. The Contemp line is Marshall's secret trend filter. Flowing blazers, Korean streetwear styles, pastel blouses, edgy denim. It's curated for fashion-forward buyers. If you've ever wondered how some racks feel fresh and others look like they were pulled from your grandma's closet, this is why. But here's the kicker. That tag is tiny, usually hidden under the price sticker or listed in tiny text near the product ID. Most shoppers miss it entirely, but now you won't. You'll scan for contempt first. That alone saves you hours of wasted browsing. Still, don't confuse contempt with quality. Trendy doesn't always mean durable. You still need to inspect fabric, stitching, zippers. But once you know what to look for, you're skipping the fluff and heading straight for what's hot, without the full retail markup. And speaking of what's worth your money, let's get into the top product categories that seasoned Marshall's insiders never skip. First up, shoes. Marshall's is low-key a footwear goldmine. From limited release Adidas and Nike to Steve Madden and Nine West, many shoes are straight from overstock or last season's designer drops. They're real, they're wearable, and they're often 40 to 60% off retail. But timing matters. Go midweek. That's when fresh shoes hit shelves. Beat the weekend sweep and you'll have a full rack of sizes to choose from. Next, beauty and skincare. Yes, that MAC lipstick or NARS blush you just saw at Sephora for $34 might be sitting at Marshall's for $14. Brands like Clinique, Stila, and even select Korean skincare pop up often. Just check for expiration symbols. Look for little jars marked 6 months, 12 months, etc. That means months after opening. As long as it hasn't been opened or tampered with, you're safe. Home decor and kitchenware are also key. Marshall's frequently carries products from KitchenAid, Cuisinart, and other top-tier brands, often with markdowns up to 70%. You'll find name-brand cutting boards, Dutch ovens, and ceramic mugs that would make Anthropology blush. But fair warning, this is where impulse buying traps hide. That cute flamingo mug? Ask yourself, do you already have space for it at home? Or is it riding high on clever packaging and pastel lies? Now here's a twist most people ignore. Seasonal merchandise. Marshall's goes all out during holidays. Halloween, Christmas, Easter, you'll find entire aisles decked in themed towels, candles, decor, and even cookware. This stuff is adorable and cheap. But again, the trick is self-control. Stick to a rule. If you don't know exactly where it'll go in your home, don't buy it. Otherwise, your cart turns into a Pinterest explosion you regret at checkout. Up next, we're going full espionage. I'll show you how simple questions and human connection can unlock markdown secrets, insider tips, and even early warnings on when your favorite brands are about to drop. And later, you'll learn the final piece. How Marshall's controls your attention with store layout, color schemes, and sensory tricks that keep you shopping longer. This rabbit hole goes deeper than you think. So you've spotted the markdown codes, decoded the designer tags, and even learned how to haggle with a smile. But here's the final trick that makes Marshall's so dangerously effective. They design their stores to make you forget time, ignore logic, and keep spending. This isn't just about clearance racks. It's full-blown psychological warfare, disguised in soft lighting and organized chaos. Let's start with the layout. Unlike most retailers, Marshall's doesn't stick to a fixed floor plan. That disorienting feeling when you can't find the checkout line? That's on purpose. They want you weaving through more aisles, past more stuff, increasing the odds of an impulse grab. Every extra 5 minutes in the store adds to your cart. Even the shelves themselves are curated to mess with your brain. You'll see a Ralph Lauren pillow next to a random notebook, right beside a yoga mat, across from a Himalayan salt lamp. That's not sloppy. It's a calculated tactic. It's called jumbled presentation. It makes you feel like you're finding hidden treasures. The randomness tricks your brain into thinking, I might not find this again, which flips on your urgency switch. Boom. Impulse buy. And have you ever noticed the music? Mid-tempo, upbeat, and just familiar enough to be pleasant, but never distracting. It keeps your mood light, your pace steady, and your brain in browsing mode. The goal? Keep you moving slowly, scanning longer, and thinking less critically. But the most brilliant move of all? The checkout gauntlet. That narrow line flanked by mini shelves stacked with tiny lotions, snacks, candles, phone chargers, and dog toys you didn't even know you needed. It's not an accident. It's a strategic choke point. You're trapped between velvet ropes, bored, and literally face-to-face with products begging for attention. And they're cheap enough that you rationalize every single one. It's only $3.99. Might as well. Marshall's makes millions off that zone alone. Now imagine walking in armed with all of this knowledge. You know which tags to chase, which codes to read, when to go, who to ask, and how to dodge every psychological pitfall. You're not just another shopper. They see you coming and think, oh, this one knows the system. Let's talk about that who to ask part again, because most people blow this off, but it's actually the biggest hidden weapon in your shopping arsenal. Being friendly with the staff pays off more than any sales sign. You don't need to be besties. Just be memorable, smile, say hi, ask thoughtful questions like, have any new items been put out today? Or is there a markdown round happening this week? The more curious you are, the more info you get. You'd be shocked how many employees will casually drop a gold nugget like, we're clearing the back room tomorrow, or we just got a coach drop in. But it's not on the floor yet. And if you're a regular, they'll remember you. They might even give you a heads up next time. One viewer told us she always brought the same cashier a small iced coffee on Fridays. Guess who gets told when new Ray Dunn mugs hit the shelf? That's right. Also, don't be afraid to ask about brands. A lot of people don't realize Marshall's gets brand surges, large, sudden shipments from companies like Adidas, Guess, or Vince Camuto. These drops hit select stores and vanish fast. A well-timed question could give you a 24-hour head start over every other shopper. Here's one final gem before you go. Some of Marshall's most expensive-looking items aren't really deals. They're decoys. A fancy $59 vanity mirror? Sometimes Marshall's buys these cheap from no-name manufacturers with bloated MSRP tags. They inflate the compare at price to make the $59 look like a steal. But check Amazon, Wayfair, or even Walmart, and you'll find it cheaper. So always cross-check high-ticket items. Just because it feels like a deal doesn't mean it is one. Let's end with this. Marshall's is designed to make you feel lucky, flattered, even proud of your thrift. But in reality, it's a game, and one they've rigged masterfully. The lighting, the tags, the product placement, the music, the checkout trap. All of it is crafted to nudge you toward yes. But now? You've got the decoder ring. You've got the map. Every dollar you spend from here on out is going to be your decision, not theirs. If you found even one tip here that made you rethink your last Marshall's run, hit that like button. Share this video with a friend who shops with their heart instead of their brain. And definitely subscribe to Undercover Spoon. This is just the beginning. We're diving deeper into discount chains, brand deception, and the weird psychology of shopping in every episode. You don't want to miss what's coming next. Stay sharp, spend smarter, and shop like someone who sees everything